Now, on to the next recipe, the savory. We want to get into, I want to make my dinner. Like Dr. Rob, I had kind of, I haven't been fasting today, but I'd kind of put off eating dinner. So we're going to get into the savory items. If you're vegetarian or vegan, I was going to say I apologize, but I don't. I was vegetarian for almost 12, 13 years, and it was funny. This is how we learn, right? We go to these extremes. Once I shifted, and that's a whole other story of I can get into it another time of why I did and so on and so forth. But yeah, once I did, I just kind of did this whole swing like into animal foods, and it was a few weeks in, and I mean, even still to this day, my wife's like, "What? Like, do you even eat vegetables anymore?" Once in a while, I do. But anyways, I've been on this kick to eat a kind of a commitment, because we all hear about how organ meats are good for us, right? They're the most nutrient dense part of the animal. But I have to admit, I wasn't committed. I would do the capsules, and that's a great place to start, right? Like freeze-dried liver, freeze-dried heart, freeze-dried kidney, or organ blends. It's a great place to start, especially if you just can't do the flavor, if you just don't know how to prepare them, cook them. These organ meats are incredible. Like the nutrient levels are over and above, like off the charts. And then the energy you feel. One of the first things I ate after being a vegetarian, even vegan, raw vegan, for literally over a decade, as I ate raw liver and raw bone marrow. I had raw salmon, sushi. I mean, I was high for 2 weeks. I had so much energy. My body was like, yes, this is it. This is the goods. So just recently, I made a commitment to, okay, I'm going to love organs. I'm going to eat them, right? No longer, sure, capsules are good once in a while, but I'm not going to rely on those anymore. And I have to say, for the last month, I've eaten them every single day. And this is a recipe that I've come up with that I wanted to share with you that hopefully will allow you to find the goodness in the flavor of eating organs. And I'll share with you, there's kind of a gradient of how you can work up to kind of increasing the percentage. I had heard, and I tried, a lot of people are like, okay, it's all about the onions, right? You've ever heard this? Okay, liver and onions, it's all about the onions. You just gotta, load up the onions. I'm telling you, it's all about the mushrooms. That is my strategy. That's my approach. And we're gonna create essentially some kind of burger patties here with organs as the base. All right, so first things first, you're going to pick a culinary medicinal mushroom that you want to use as the base. So it could be maitake, could be shiitake, could be morels, could be porcinis. And here's a good tip, right? So this is some porcinis that Denis and I harvested. The Aspen Boletes, kind of our local one here that grows absolutely in abundance. You can get good volumes of this stuff. Dry them, have them in jars, and then you could be using them all winter long. Here's some lion's mane that were grown, cultivated, dried. Boom, right there, ready to use. You can grab at it. I've got some American grown shiitakes. Didn't personally grow those myself, but whatever you're going to use, you want to first, and maybe I'll use a mix. You first want to kind of break them up, crumble them up, because in the burgers that you're going to be making, you don't want things that are like too large in chunks. All right, now what I've just added to the pan, I should have put that in there first, instead of the dry. So I've got a nice warm pan here, and then I put in broth. And specifically, I put in these kind of broth cubes that I've been making, bone broth, meat stock. I've got a whole course on how to make those, and then the 6 essential ingredients that you want to add to every single bone broth or meat stock that you do, which includes sea vegetables, right? Dr. Silver talked about those beta glucans being in the sea veg as well. It includes medicinal herbs, things like astragalus, goji, jujube dates, you name it, and medicinal mushrooms. Those are 3 of the, the other 3 key ingredients. So I've got those really concentrated down. They're almost like a gelatin bouillon cube. I keep those in the freezer. I just pull a couple of out, put them into the pan. That melts. Then I put in my dried mushrooms. So take them whole, kind of bust them up. And then what that's going to do, you know, we know things like morels, as great and tasty as they are, you definitely want to cook those. They have a toxin if you eat them raw. So they're going to rehydrate in the broth, which is super nutrient dense and offers different nutrients that you're going to get from even the organ meats and from the ground or the muscle meat, whatever you're consuming. So we're rehydrating them and we're cooking them at the same time. So that's our first step, number 1. And I've got a nice little mushroom medley here. So just kind of make this quick. It's going to be lion's mane, morel, and shiitakes. And I just have to say that both myself and Denis are the luckiest men around tonight, because we're going to share this meal as soon as it's cooked. And it's going to be amazing. He did get a sneak preview of this the other day when I made it. I'm literally making this, you know, if not every day, every other day right now, and kind of my commitment to nourishing myself with organ meats. And I feel great. I feel amazing. I do generally most of the time, but this has kind of been a next level. So really, really happy and stoked about that. One thing that I have struggled with my health, especially being a vegetarian, but even before that, was teeth health. I've really struggled. I was the kid that would get like, you know, 8-9 cavities growing up constantly, even as an adult. And then that kind of exacerbated as a vegetarian and as a vegan. And one thing I've learned is that organs do provide nutrients that really, really help and nourish the teeth, those fat soluble vitamins. And yeah, even the last month, I've noticed a great increase just in that. So all these mushrooms have just been cooked in a bit of the broth. So they've rehydrated, they've cooked. I'm going to add a little bit of butter because that broth has definitely been absorbed and cooked off. So I don't want them to burn. I've got a little bit of ghee here, but you could use any type of fat that you like as a cooking oil. But that's enough. I don't really need to cook the mushrooms very long. Just again, enough to kind of cook them, rehydrate them. I'm going to take them off the heat because now I'm going to add them to the ground meat, and which I'll just say, by the way, so here I've got some grass-fed, grass-finished beef from my friend Dakota, who he's an Alberta-based incredible regenerative farmer. He produces some of the best food in Alberta, North America, I would say. And yeah, he's literally regenerating the soil by raising. He does beef, pork, he's got chickens, you name it, all in like incredible permaculture style. So what he does is with his ground meat, and I've started to see this more and more, is that he'll mix in a percentage of organs. Generally, it's 10%. Most people, that's kind of as much as they can handle in terms of flavor. And I've seen this commercially, even here in Calgary around town, where you can get these blends of, you know, ground meat with 10% of that being organs. Typically, it can be liver, heart, kidney, spleen, tongue. He's got the holy trinity of liver, kidneys, and heart. And then I've got these, so that's just as it is. Then what he also does is, because there's still tons of organ left over, is he'll do these organ, like ground organ mixes just by themselves. And then, so I've moved up from 10% to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30. And now I'm going to mix those two together. And you can tell just the nutrient density. Just look at the color, right? Here's the organs, there's the ground meat. Both are good, but the nutrient density is right there. And when you add in the mushrooms, it just takes the flavor to the next level. It deepens it. It gives that wonderful, incredible umami. And yeah, I found it in working my way up as a percentage, incredible. So this is probably now about 25%. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of mixing these together. Now, maybe you will only be able to find, liver or heart by itself. Start asking butchers, especially if you're a hunter and you've got that whole animal. You can get them to do this type of custom blending for you. Or if you're new to this and you just go to a butcher and you say, okay, all right, what do you got? Give me some heart, give me some liver. You can get it, as whole muscle meat, or you can ask them to grind it for you, and then you start mixing it in to your burger meat, your ground meat. So you can cook this as burger meat. You can cook this as, into spaghetti, you name it. But start small, right? Increase, especially if you got kids or partners, maybe aren't so keen as you are in terms of the flavor, and then you can kind of work your way up. All right, so even though we've got mushrooms prepared over on the side, I'm gonna add in some more. I'm gonna add in the mushroom extracts. So shiitake, which is one of the ones that really, really has that umami flavor, that glutamate. The synthetic version is the monosodium glutamate. Well, there are natural glutamines, these savory compounds, things like nutritional yeast, things like bacon, and the mushrooms have an incredible amount of that in there. So I've got some lion's mane, I've got some shiitake, medicinal mushroom extracts. They're going in along with a bit of salt and some spice mix, however you like to flavor it, right? Could be Cajun. I'm going with a little bit of garam masala this evening. So we'll add in some spice mix. I don't know, doing these types of meat mixes, sometimes it's hard to know what flavor you're gonna get. Like, did I add enough salt? Do I have enough spice in there? Because maybe you might be a little bit intrepid about tasting the raw meat before you cook it. But I feel pretty good about tasting it as is, eating it raw. And in fact, when I cook it, I try and undercook it. I like it, there's definitely more nutrition, more vitality if we've just got it slightly undercooked, more on the raw side. I mean, this is beef tartare right here. And of course, I would never do this with conventional meat, but I would absolutely do it with this good high quality. You want to try it? You want to try the raw? Okay, we want to make sure the mushrooms are mixed quite well. And actually here now, we're going to get the cooked mushrooms into the mix as well. So those ones that were just on the side that we cooked and rehydrated, now they're going to get mixed in as well. And just know that, you can do one or the other or both, like I'm doing it, right? It could just be the dried mushrooms cooked up and added in. It could just be your mushroom extracts mixed in, or you can do a bit of both, like I've got going here. And so the trick is working the gradient up in terms of percentage of organs, but really, truly, in my mind, it's that mushroom flavor that has really been good and added a nice little balance to the organ flavor. And it's that commitment to just doing it. All right, Denise is going to go for it. All right. Okay, so we got the pan nice and hot. Create a little patty there. Put it on the grill, and we're going to let that cook. And we've, especially working with something like morels, or Patrick, we all shared some of our stories of eating mushrooms raw that should be cooked, that were a little undercooked. If you pre-cook them and then add them into the mix, then you don't have to worry about that. So, all right. Well, in the rest of the recipe book, we got lots more for you. There is, how to ferment mushrooms. That's another way to, make these medicinal mushrooms culinary. So there's recipes